YouTube and Facebook. And I have my dear friend here with me, Latasha. We are going to talk about all kinds of things that we are trying to embed in our children, especially when our kids are psychic. And so how to navigate that world because this is new. Yes. But before we go ahead and jump into that, I have to play my little intro in case until I can hold on until I can get it right. Okay, here we go. Okay, we are back. So, Latasha, this is my dear best friend from 14 years old. I had to think about that. I don't even know how many years. I don't even want to think about how many years that is. But
a long time.
Yeah, that is a long time, ain't it? But good long time. So we're going to talk about, like I said, how to navigate the world of, your children being psychic, because that is a very common question that I get, especially when people are contacting me, asking me, how do I help my child? Or how do I help my child? Or on the flip side, the kids are getting in trouble for not knowing or being able to manage their abilities because they're kids. But Latasha and I are going to talk about this. So welcome, Latasha.
Thank you.
So I want everybody to have an idea what your background is, like especially education, and we'll get into, working with the kids. And we have the kids on standby. I cannot have them on video just yet because they in there wilding. So they're on standby. We'll bring them in here soon after me and Latasha have a chance to chat. So what has been your experience with kids that are in tune?
Well, I have 3 girls, well, 4, including my sister that I raised. And all of them have their different abilities. Like my sister can feel stuff and she knows presence. Like she can feel when a spirit's present is there. Mm-hmm. My oldest daughter is more like me. Like we could see the silhouette, we could feel the energies in the room. So we can go to someone's house and know if there's a spirit there. My middle daughter is more of an empath. She takes on people's energy. So each of them have their gift. And my youngest daughter, she can see. She can see the spirits. She can communicate with them. They communicate with her. And then I had to get Leslie to come in because that was above what I had going on. Like I know when they're there, I communicate. I don't hear them back, but she can have a dialogue. So she has some of the gifts that you have. So I was like, I need reinforcement because I don't know what to do with this. And it was getting scary for her. And I'm like, it's nothing to be scared of, but she didn't want to take my word. So she had to know there were other people that can do what she could do, not just take my word for it. So it's been years, and trust me, they're older. My older kids are way older in their mid-20s. So we've been doing this for years.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. So like you have the girls. I have my bonus son, Jalen, who's 18, and I have my daughter who's 10. And then I have a little one. I don't really know quite yet where he stands, but I think he does see. He's almost 2. And so just like you said, trying to navigate that world, it can be scary. It can be super scary for the kids and the parents both.
Yeah.
Because it's like, whoa. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to continue to chat about this. And then we're also going to give you some kind of practical steps and such that you can follow if you find yourself in, the same situation. And also, too, today's giveaway, if you are here, I'm going to bring up the chat box. I forgot to pop that up. If you want to win a consultation to talk about, what's going on with your kids and things like that. So bear with me. I have a whole bunch of different devices going on, and I'm trying to bring up the chat box. So that way I can see if people are talking because, the last time I did that and I was all in the wrong area. So I probably should have did this beforehand, but you know what? Y'all about to get all up in my face for a second. Oh my goodness. Okay. So there we go. Okay, now we got it up. So if you are here, I have YouTube comments up. So if you are here, definitely let us know on YouTube and then we'll just kind of go roll from there. So tell me what it was like when, your kid first came to you and was like, Mom, what is this? What was going through your mind?
Well, it was more of the younger one.
Yeah.
That I noticed with the older one, and me and my oldest think it's a game. It's like I had a friend, we went to her house, and I was trying to sleep. And I was like, I've been in your room before, but today there's a lot of activity and I can't sleep. And she was like, shh, because my kids were scared of it.
Mm.
And she was like, can y'all go to, so I called my oldest and I was like, let's just go in each room and see what we get. So to us, we think it's like it's just a little, it's for sports for us. Unless I want to sleep. Then the ones in my house, I'm like, listen, I want to sleep.
Yeah.
But I hear a lot of stories of people saying they got in trouble. And
Mm.
I can't sit here and say that was my experience or not. And if it was, I just don't remember. So
Mhm.
I wanted to keep an open space so my children will be able to feel comfortable telling me.
Mhm.
The middle daughter, I don't think she really knows what it is
Mm.
because she hasn't learned to separate her energy from someone else's. And
Mm.
being an empath is hard because I have those too.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to separate your feelings from someone else's feeling. You just know you're overwhelmed and
Mm.
everybody's like, you're just too sensitive. Now I did get that. You're
Mm.
too sensitive. And I get that now, even as an adult. But I'm like, the sensitivity helps me to be humane because if it didn't, then we'd be all over the place.
Mhm.
And we'd just be overwhelmed and spazzing out on everybody and they wouldn't know where it's coming from. So the sensitivity helps bring us down. Now, the youngest, she's been having dreams since she was born.
Mhm.
So she wouldn't sleep. And it was more of if she didn't sleep, I didn't sleep. I can't say one instance particular. Well, when she was younger, she always had her blueprint. I don't like this. This is what we're not going to do. But she was not a talker.
Mm.
But when she did tell me, I understood. And so when she had, and it wasn't a demand, and it wasn't like she's controlling the things. It was just she knew who she was,
Mhm.
even coming through.
Mm.
And so she was like, I had a dream and I know where you got me from.
Mm.
And this was 2 days after I did have a dream of where I got it from. And she was like, you asked for me. And in the dream, I did ask for her. She was going through a black hole. Most people's like, that ain't true. You can't have a black hole in the spiritual realm. Well, is one.
Yeah.
And it was like she wasn't prepared to come to earth. And I was like, hey, if you let me, can I have her? If I have her, I will promise to protect her.
Mm.
They wasn't ready for her. She was just golden, her presence. And she used to tell me all the time, I didn't come down here. I came down here for you. I didn't come down here to do everything what we do in everyday life, like schooling and all of those things. And just the routine, the hustle and bustle. She didn't come down here for this. Her presence, just like, I'm just trying to make everybody happy and a better life, but I don't have to jump through the hurdles that what y'all consider life. So to her, that's too much. But she did know the dream, but I just noticed she wouldn't sleep. And I do remember one time in particular, um, I felt the energy in her home.
Mm.
And I was like, hey, if you're gonna, I want to sleep tonight. So if you want to talk to the baby, make sure it's on her level where she can experience it, where that she won't get scared. And it was like a paper flew off her dresser, and I was like, okay. So I didn't think nothing about the paper. I picked it up, and the next day she was like, this little boy came to my dream and he wanted to play, and he played too rough. I didn't like how he played, and she gave him a name, but I don't remember the name. She was like, he told me to tell you sorry for knocking down the paper. And I'm like, but I thought you was asleep. She said I was. He told me to make sure that you knew to tell me sorry. And even now, like, we see entities run in the hall, around the rooms. Like the other day, my mother's been deceased since '05. And the other day, it's this Mother's Day balloon that I got from my oldest daughter. And I was like, I keep putting it behind the TV. And I'm like, Mom, okay, because maybe I'm closed off somewhere. Because normally she comes to me in a dream. And she hasn't been. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's you, then this balloon will come close. Well, the other night before I came down here to visit, I wake up in the middle of the night and the balloon is right here on the side of my bed in my face like this. And I'm like, okay, Mom, I didn't mean that. So like it's just different. So even though I'm older, but I remember even one time when I was a kid, I think it was me, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my great uncle. We're in a car, and that's when they had the pink Cadillacs, and the whole seat was the bench. And I climbed to the front. They kept telling me to come to the front, and for some reason, I didn't want to sit in the front seat. And by the time I kicked and screamed, I want to go to the back. I want to go to the back. By the time I got to the back seat and I buckled myself in, we got in an accident. We hit a tree. So it's like I knew, but at that time I didn't know what it was. So I had more experience it once I had my kids and they had their gifts. It opened room for my gifts.
Yes. Yes. I am just making sure that this is shared out real quick to your profile, because I know you have some people that wanted to tune in.
Yes.
So, having those experiences, and especially having that, one thing that's really key, especially in listening to you say, is that the key is to allow for open communication. Yes, you may not understand it, and you may understand it, but if you don't, just allow them to describe and tell you exactly what they're experiencing or what they're hearing. And if you don't understand it, then but don't come from a place of judgment. Just say, okay, I understand that this was your experience, and then maybe reach out to, someone else that has more experience within this type realm, because the key there, and there's two things I want to talk about too. I'm going to tell you, the key there is to be gentle, because a lot of our abilities are shut down in childhood because adults don't understand. And so having that open line of communication, be there for them and just hear them, and then take that information to be able to find somebody else to talk to. That is key. And then two, when you were talking about the little boy, one thing that was that came to mind were imaginary friends, right? So yeah, like imaginary friends, a lot of times they are spirits.
I had a lot of imaginary friends growing up.
Really?
Yes, but I didn't relate the two.
Yeah. Well, see, we're so innocent that we don't realize that we're talking to, a spirit that's just hanging out. Oh, you're my friend. What up?
And with her, she was sweet. So I'm like, and I told the spirit, like, listen, we're not doing this tonight, because she got scary in her dreams. But that's when I came to you. I was like, okay, these dreams, and she's scared, but I keep telling her, she's stronger than whatever she's experiencing.
Hey, Tanika. Sorry. I'm glad you're here, dear. So thank you for tuning in.
And she did tell me one time when we first moved in our apartment, a lady came to her. Remember I told you about that? She was like, the lady had on, she described her to a T. And she was like, and the lady was like, your phone ready. She was like, her face was glowing, and she had on her white shoes. And I think she said an orange dress with flowers all over it. But she never, for even now, she's 13 at that time. She's like, what, 5 or 6? So she hasn't forgotten that. But I don't think that spirit wanted me to take her out the room, because when I took her in the room with me, then my bed is vibrating and I have sleep paralysis. And I'm like, but she wanted to sleep. Like, and I want to too.
Right.
So y'all can play with her another day, but not today.
So, and that brings another point up. Is the first point was allowing that open room for communication, even if you don't understand it, and not judging. But the second point is protecting the kid. And I know sometimes we may feel like we could, we feel like shutting the gift down is protecting, which really and truly is limiting and inhibiting a part of who that child is. And so if you protect and learn the steps to protecting, psychic protection and things like that, then you don't have to necessarily shut down that innate ability that child has, right?
That's true.
So
I agree with this. The person that comment, my daughter sees stuff before I do too, and I don't silence her, and I try to have people around her that nurtures that. I mean, she doesn't speak of it in front of everyone, but that's why I came to Jennifer, so that she can let her know it's not just you. There are adults like you. There are people that are like you, so that if she does get around other adults that try to silence her, she'll know there are others like me. You don't get to do that. And a lot of spirits do introduce themselves to her first. That's also why I brought Jennifer in, so that she wouldn't be afraid of the new ones, because she can see them fully as beings, and she can communicate, and they communicate back, versus I just know they're there. Sometimes I can hear them, but she is very open.
hmm And two, also too, just think I want to speak to with the other adults, right? Having them silence her. I want you to, and I know you are, but I just have to say it, but be her best advocate. So, teach her, some people may not understand, but I understand. Obviously, I'm the more important person because you're her mom. But to empower her to say, there's nothing wrong with you. You are okay.
Right.
Empower her. You are okay. And you can start that from a young age, right? Because the more that you do it, especially as them coming up and getting more in tune with it, the more empowered and confident they'll feel in themselves. Because for me, I have always felt like an outsider. I've always felt weird. I've never been a clique person. I've always been to myself. I've always been quiet and shut down. And I chose um, to really instill a confidence in my kids with this because, you know, I didn't get that treatment. And it's not any knock or anything. My parents just, they weren't in that realm or thinking, to try to say, hey, you're okay. I mean, but I think that's important. That's so, so, so important. So um we have the kids on hold here. I'm yelling at them through the phone or the video so that they can get themselves together. They're not on camera, but I can see them sitting there like, oh, right. Oh, so we're going to bring them on. They can't see you yet, but please get yourselves together so I can bring y'all on camera. And so when I bring y'all on camera, I want you to introduce, yourself. Macy, picture, shirt. I want you to introduce yourselves and just say how old you are. And that's it. We'll go from there, okay? So, all right, we have the kids and we're going to talk to them about their experiences and just kind of let them roll with it. Okay, y'all are on.
Junior, you go first.
You go first.
Wow. Okay. I'm Jalen. You know,
How old are you, Jay?
I'm 18.
Good job.
That's all I got.
I'm
Okay,
Macy,
go.
and I'm 10.
I'm Janera and I'm 13.
And Janera is Tasha's daughter, her youngest daughter. And those are my two babies right there. All right, so kids, just talk a little bit about, and we'll start with Jalen. Tell a little bit about your experiences that you've had as a kid and up until now.
All right. So my first experience where I was like, oh, this ain't regular. This ain't you know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing that just be happening to everybody is when when I had moved from with my mom to with y'all, and we had moved in a house in the country. I kept, at first I thought I was crazy because I kept like hearing little stuff, and I felt like I was seeing people out this corner of my eye. And then like the longer I got there, the more comfortable I got. Where I was like, yeah, I'm just tripping. And then I started to see this lady, and it's like she wouldn't really say nothing to me, but I could tell she was like a good like person or whatever. Like, I wasn't scared. I was startled when I first seen her, but I wasn't like scared of her like, oh, it's a ghost or whatever. I was just like, it is what it is.
Mhm.
Like I don't know. We ain't used to talk to each other, but she used to communicate without communicating.
How old were you? I know how old you were, but tell everyone else.
I don't know.
You were like 8, okay? You were 8 or 9.
Yeah, I was young. I remember we had just moved. Well, I had just moved out there to the country from coming from the city, so like I wasn't really liking it. It was real boring. Wasn't no TV in the house.
We had a TV.
There wasn't no TV in my room.
Yeah, you're right.
So boring. But especially with going into that new school because them folks was country. I felt out of place. But
Yeah.
like coming home and having I don't know having her there. I felt like she was my friend at the time, but now I'm really thinking about it. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know.
You're about
I
imaginary friends.
don't know.
So would you say she felt like an imaginary, quote unquote imaginary friend?
Oh no, because I done had imaginary friends when I was younger, but
Yeah.
it felt like I sent presence, like she was really there. Like imaginary
Mhm.
friend, just you lying to yourself because you're a kid.
Not all the Lord.
But you're a kid, so you can imagine that. But no, like I could sense her presence. Like I knew when she was coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you felt a little difference, the difference between that.
Yeah.
Okay. Macy, would you like to share? I know you are a dreamer.
So there was this one time when we used to stay in this apartment. There was this little boy who thought my mom, you, was his mom, and we always used to hear stuff and see stuff. And when we moved into another house, I was like 7, and I was about to go to sleep. I had my eyes squinted, and I just saw this figure of like a little child.
Mm, yeah. I remember that little boy used to scream out, "Mom!" And I used to say, "Macy, did you call me?" You say, "No." That little boy called all the time. Yeah, nobody else. So tell
And
me, go ahead.
in the new house, when we were just sitting there, Mom, we heard, "Mom," you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about your dreams? Tell a little bit about like when the dream. Remember not too long ago after Nana died, I said she told me she told me, and I don't know if I told you, she said, "I'm gonna visit Macy in her dreams tonight." And then the next day, what did you do? You came and told me. What did you tell me?
Um, we were in this hotel. Granddad was there. Nana was there. We were all dressed really nicely. I don't know, but she's just smiling at me. We were just
Mm.
talking. I
Yeah.
don't know where we were or what we were doing.
Oh, it's okay. Because so she came to visit you, right? Um, and there was a couple other times too. You see things like one person that was walking up the steps, and then especially when we lived in the White House, that portal that was in the bathroom.
Oh, that mirror.
Oh my God, that was yes. House was super active.
That very.
I used to see my great grandma sometimes. I used to see her a lot in the house where I saw the little boy. In
Mm,
the corner, she was just walking around in this white dress.
really? I don't think you told me that.
I did.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Janera, do you want to share? It's okay.
Do you have dreams sometimes
Yes.
of people?
Yes.
And what about the people you see in the house sometimes? You told me you see my mom, right?
Yeah.
And y'all go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
I remember the first time she encountered my mom, and she was like, "She's not gonna get me." And I was like, "You don't know my mama too well." So she goes to the end of the hallway. And what happened when you got to the end of the hallway? Do you remember?
No.
Was my mom there?
Yeah.
It's okay, honey. I know. This is a new experience for all y'all.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so I want to ask y'all real quick. Jalen, you weren't here, but Janera and Macy, So right after you came and said, what do I do with this? I said, okay, well, I'm gonna put them in psychic kick boot camp.
Yeah.
So tell everyone a little bit about what we did and how you felt and what you thought about the activities that we did. Macy.
Huh? Wait. Say that again.
What did y'all do with your mom on spring break when y'all was doing psychic boot camp? When she had you on the porch, you engineer.
Oh, it was really fun. We got to do these guessing games where we were trying to talk like telepathically and guess what's in their hands, each other's hands. And we guessed right most of the time.
Mm-hmm. So you were using really kind of strengthening that intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learning to read energy. That brings me to my third point, right? So the first one is having the open lines of communication. The second one was protecting your kids. But the third one is practice. Learn how to navigate that energy. They may come to you and you may not understand it, but play with them. I know there are some books that are out there like that do have activities for psychic kids, and there are some tools. There is a website that I don't know if it's around now, but it's called Spirituality for Kids. I hope it's still around. It was years ago when I first discovered it. Okay. But it really helps. These tools can help you navigate this unknown territory, right, with your children, so they don't feel alone. But playing those games are really, really important and really fun. Even as an adult, it's fun.
Yes, because Nira came home and she wanted to play them with me all the time.
Oh gosh, yeah. But that was a fun time, and I look forward to doing that again. So kids, do y'all have anything else that y'all want to add? Maybe a word of advice to other kids, or their parents may be watching. Give them some word of advice if they have kids that had experiences like y'all.
Embrace it.
Oh, okay.
Good job.
I know that's right.
Yeah,
that works. Jalen, do you have anything?
I'm gonna just say be cautious, because not everybody is gonna have nice spiritual endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful. Everybody ain't your friend out here.
Yeah.
But, don't be thinking you crazy. Sometimes you gotta believe your stomach. You gotta trust your gut, trust your intuition.
Yes, trust. That's a good. Embrace it and trust. That is a big word for kids to take on, but an even bigger word, especially for adults to take on, because trusting is hard, and trusting in yourself. Sometimes people trust in others before they believe themselves.
that is true.
Oh Lord. Okay, that's a word. Okay, y'all stop playing. All right, Janelle, do you want to add anything? And it's okay if you don't. Okay.
I got one more story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I've been telling a lot of stories about Janira, but I forgot this. My older two, my sister and my oldest daughter. I left them home because at that time I was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And they did tell me it was a lady. This is before we moved from Greensboro. It was a lady that was sitting on the porch in a black dress. And they looked out the window. She was sitting there. And I was like, what did you do? My older daughter was like, nothing. She wasn't bothering me. But when they came back, she was gone. But I remember one time I went to work, and at that time I was working like 4 a.m. And they called me. They were like, we hear footsteps in the house. So they pile up in one room, and I'm sitting on the phone. They were like, they're getting louder. So I'm like, call the police. Like, I'm at work. I'll be there, but call the police. So the police come, and they checked the house. Nobody's there, but they heard somebody. Wow. And in that house, there was a lot of activity. Like, I've seen a lot of black silhouettes. I've seen little gremlin looking things. I've seen a silhouette engulf my brother just standing there, and he's standing there, and I just seen the black silhouette just swallow him. And it wasn't so. But it was funny because the police was like, we get calls like this. So they did take it away, but they still checked the house. But it was just funny because they were like, the footsteps again. They just heard banging. And I'm just like, but nobody was there. So, like, even my older kids, they have all experienced it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, kids. Well, we're not going anywhere, but kids, thank you so much for joining. Leave us alone until we finish this video. Please don't get too loud. The babies sleep downstairs too, okay? Love y'all. All right.
Oh, and my middle daughter. You remember when we was in the house? And then she asked me about an uncle. She's never met this uncle.
Wow.
So I knew the uncle, and that uncle's very quiet. And she was like, "Who is Uncle Charles?" And I'm like, he was one of my favorite uncles too. But he's like, I think he's one of my great uncles or great uncles. But the fact that she saw him and she was like, "It's an older man." But when we got home, I showed her a picture of him.
Wow.
And she was like, "Yeah, that was him." So like I said, all of them can see.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You know, one thing that I want to add to is I would probably use the word trust and believe too right then. So that would be step number 4. So the first one is, open lines of communication. Second is protection. Third is, what was the third? Oh crap, I don't forgot. But I'll figure it out. But trust and believe in what they're saying, because in that situation with your daughter, it could have been very easy to just, shut it down. Like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, I don't believe you're hearing this. Oh, I don't, So, and sometimes kids do feel that, and it's again, it's shutting down their ability, which is, I will tell you this, it is super, super hard. It's not super, super hard. I'll use one super hard to get these abilities back once you shut them down, right? Because we're all born with these abilities. Every single person in the world has the ability to see and hear spirit. And that's the reason why a lot of kids have that ability, because the world around them hasn't had a chance to set in and tell them what's right or wrong, right? And so they're just naturally being guided and connected, right? Because they're newly into this world and in this body. And so as we get older, we can continue to have this experience, but we can also shut it down. So like for my stepson that you saw in the video, he's 18 and he realized he's not having as many experiences as he is when he was younger. And so we were talking about that earlier, how to try to get some of that back so that it's not a forever lost thing, so to speak. But I know for me personally, you can talk about you too. When I was 13, I had a whole thing that was happening with me, very traumatic. And so I think that for me, especially being young still, I connected to that spiritual side of me at 13 to answer what is life and, who's God and what's the universe and all this other stuff. And if it wasn't for that event, I really and truly believe that I would not still be as connected now, because I would have let the world, take me away and tell me what I can do and what's real and what's not. So, yeah. So what about you? What do you think? Especially as a kid.
That's what I'm saying. As a kid, I don't remember much. I just remember being told you're too insensitive.
Yeah.
So maybe I shut it down early because I was told I'm too sensitive. But I mean, even though you can shut them down, you can't get them back.
Yeah.
But like she said, it's harder. Like for me, I don't like to be bothered when I'm asleep. So when I tell them, listen, I'm trying to sleep.
Right.
They might have had a message or come to me, but I leave a communication with the spirits like, hey, come to me in a dream. I'm more receptive versus you trying to physically have it. So that might be why I don't hear them as openly as my children, because they know, hey, just come. And there are some dreams that I have had, and then the next day may not be exact, but it'll be in the vicinity. Like I had a dream about a friend of mine. And her husband was looking for her, and I was like, I don't know. And the dream, she was with me, but I was like, I don't know. And it wasn't nothing bad. It was a random dream.
Yeah.
Well, the next day, her husband did inbox me. It was like, have you talked to her? And I'm So it wasn't the exact dream, but it still had a message.
Yeah.
And I've experienced, like I tell anyone, I'll trust my dreams before I trust anything else. And usually my dreams have not steered me wrong. I have had people tell me that, oh, your dream's not right, but my dreams usually are accurate, and I don't dream often. So usually once I dream, it usually comes with the message. So you can turn the light right now. I think my gifts are in a standstill. So now, but I still give the spirits, hey, you can connect with me a different way. Try something, like I said with my mom. Usually when I'm like, hey, I want you to come to me. And when she first passed, it was like she wanted to tell me a story. She telling me a story in colors. It was like all the stuff I didn't get to tell you, here you go. And so it's like that. So sometimes I don't get to see her, and I miss not seeing her in a dream, but she does come in other ways.
You saying that reminded me of some of the advice that I have given parents in the past is to, yes, the parent maybe not know anything, and they can also be fearful. And so I try to instill the power in them and say, hey, you're in control. You can teach that to your child and let them know that they are in control, because they don't have to fear, a spirit, or they don't have to fear the dream or hearing things, because you have control to tell them, we're not doing it right now. And so once you build that confidence in them and tell them, tell the spirits, talk to them like a regular person. Tell them, look, we're not talking right now. I'm trying to go to sleep, because that is a big one for me too. Or I'm trying to do my homework. I'm trying to play. We can connect at a better time when it's, better for me. And so if you approach it like that, then again, you're controlling and setting your spiritual boundaries for outside energy to interact with you. And so that is hugely, hugely important.
And that's what I really had to teach my youngest, because it was controlling her, and she's all over the place, and it was upsetting her. And I'm like, no, you're in control. And I always tell her, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. So you have the power to let them know, hey, not today, or come to me a different way that I can receive it, or something like that.
Well, I see we have a comment. I was trying to fix the comment here. I'm going to highlight it on the screen. So I grew up on Filipino folklore and superstition, and as my family continued to mix and blend, more influences came in. So there are plenty of influence to draw from. So let me ask you this question in regards to like influences. Are you talking about physical people's influences, or are you talking about the more spiritual and the folkloric? What's the word? What influences? That's the word I was trying to say. That is the word that I was trying to say. So Harlow, definitely tune in. So I'm having an issue trying to pull up. I have my computer. If you see me looking over here, I have my computer right here, my phone right here, and the kids got the tablet. So I'm trying to pull up all of the. It looks like your message was too long. My bad. Oh, no problem, Harlow. So if you want to finish, you can definitely continue to put that in there. But if y'all have any questions or anything, or any experiences that y'all want to run by us, we can try to help guide you the best way as possible, especially with your children. If they're experiencing things that you're just really not too sure on how to handle or how to navigate, just let us know in the comments. And then if not, then we can continue to give some pointers, right?
I'm trying to get Jennifer to do the boot camp and open it for all children, because nowadays, especially what's going on in the world, our children needs to know it's okay, like, and learn to embrace it. And especially in our community, we are shown for a lot of stuff, but that is a part of us. I'm 40, and my grandma's like, "What are you doing? And you sit here messing with spirits?" And I'm like, "Listen." And I could say this, okay, no, I do have a story from when I was a child. When I was a teenager, I went through a whole lot. So I did a lot of talking to myself, a lot of time to myself. But I always remember, and I know it was a male, but not really a grown, I don't know if it's grown male, younger male, but I know it always sat right here. So when I felt upset about life, or I couldn't talk to my mom, or I didn't have a family member to talk to, I know this spirit was there. And it was like, it was okay. Anytime that I was having a moment, and this was especially as a teenager, I knew that spirit was right there with me. And so I knew I was okay, and I would just be able to get it out, and that helped. Besides journaling, now journaling is a good thing to teach your child. Write it out. I used to do it a lot as a kid. I stopped as an adult, and I probably need to get back to it. But between journaling and that entity that stayed with me, and like I said, as an adult, I don't know, but at that time, that's probably what I needed. And it helped me get through a lot because I felt heard, and it was listening, and he was there every time I was going through something.
It's probably your guide.
Yeah.
It's showing up, manifesting. So that's journaling. That's another good point. That's another good tool to be able to use. Have your, kids, give them a special diary, right? Write their feelings out, write, what they're experiencing out. So that way, not only will you have a recollection as you grow up of what has happened while you were younger, but it will also be another outlet too, especially if not necessarily the caretaker or parent, but outside individuals, like a commenter earlier stated, how outsider adults are trying to shut them down. So, that would be a good point. And eventually I will get to this psychic boot camp for kids. I just got so much on my plate, but I think with that being said, eventually it will happen. But I wanted to make a point when you were mentioning earlier how, I feel that there are a lot of kids, a lot more kids, especially experiencing it now. And the reason why I say that is because, this world is changing spiritually, and more people are really, really getting in tune and getting rid of the old, in tune with themselves, right? And so we're raising and creating this next generation to become even more in tune with ourselves. And these kids now, they're going to be stronger than us. They're going to be strongly more tapped into their energy and their spirit and the energy that's around them. And so it's a huge time. Yes, I know, for me to do something like the boot camp, but I'm gonna get to it. But it's a huge time for you to be able to really encourage your children to grow and learn about themselves and learn about the spirit around them. Right. So, this was a really fun conversation. Yes. It was fun because it's really and truly, it is important as caretakers to just be there for them. And before we even go, did you want to add anything else to the conversation about this?
And like my niece said, teach them to embrace it.
Yes.
Embrace it. That was strongly emphasized.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, because children are not taught to embrace it.
Yeah.
And it'll help them way more than you shunning it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've met even recently and over my time, there are adults that are still trying to heal because they were shunned from that to turn around and come back to it now as an adult and have to learn it all over again when they could have honed it and embraced it.
Yeah.
And like again, in our community, we are shunned away. You don't mess with that. It's all bad. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
Because you do it in various avenues, whether it's Christianity, whether it's spirituality, you're dealing with it. And whether you admit it or not, you're dealing with it. So let's put that elephant in the room. It doesn't matter your spiritual path. You're really dealing with it.
Yeah.
So you might as well embrace your gifts. Because it's no different than you being able to tell somebody something as a medium and somebody prophesying over your life.
And
it's the same thing. So why would we shun it in our children when they're more connected? You always hear growing up, they say the children more connected in God than we are, and they open. So why would you put a wall there?
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to do with it, ask for help.
Yeah.
But don't put a wall there for that child because you're going to give them more. Each child comes with their own blueprint.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really didn't realize it until my youngest came and she's like, here it is. I don't do this, don't want this, this. And this is a 4 or 5-year-old telling me this. And she was who she was. And I listened versus you're not going to tell me because I'm the parent. And sometimes as a parent, we're not always right. So we have to navigate together. Yeah. And she made me look at the other children. I was like, oh, I could have did this. Maybe I should have said this. Let me find out this. And it was honing. But now that they're older, I have had to apologize as well as I've never shunned their gifts though.
Mhm.
My cousin told me that all the time. She said, "You wouldn't let nobody tell your kids, like, let them be who they are." I
Yeah.
said, "Well, in order for me to help them if they get stumped, I need to know who they are, whether it's what we consider good or bad or in
Mhm.
between. I need to know because I can't help them if I don't know how far they'll go, what they are, what it is."
Mhm.
Like my middle child, she says she gets picked at for being sensitive, and nobody understands that about that. So regardless of the space between us or wherever she is, she still comes to me with that sensitive part because she knows I understand.
I wanted to say this earlier and I completely forgot, but referencing I guess, sensitivity as well as yours when you were younger, I think it has a lot to do with the child trying to understand the emotional balance within themselves because if you can get the emotions balanced, you'll be able to actually feel, not necessarily just inside better, but you'll be able to feel and understand things that's going around you. And two, being very sensitive, I feel like it's more of you're a sponge and you're not really sure how to, again, bring that balance inside of you. And so the last thing that you can do is just cry it out and release it, is the energetic releasing crying. And so that sensitivity is definitely something there as far as the child being in tuned and connected and psychic. And so that emotions, I used to cry all the time too. My parents were like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't like the way you said red."
Yeah, that's
That has a lot to do. Oh, thank you. Because I just had that download as we were talking and I was listening. I was like, yeah. So with that being said, let me tell you this real quick. And I know I said we were going to get ready to go, but with psychic kids, if you see a tendency of or having that heavy sensitivity within themselves, I'm not telling you, of course, how to raise your children, but be aware and be keen in observing how they interact and how they observe how they absorb energy, because it could be energy that's not necessarily theirs and they're trying to figure out how to you know balance themselves, how to feel. So that's something that you have to be aware of too. So
because my oldest, she's like that.
mm-hmm.
And you see her, she'll just go into space by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And to rebalance when she has taken on, she knows the separate part.
Mm-hmm.
The middle one has not.
Mm-hmm.
And the little one, she knows they're separate. So she just like unbothered. Even Jalen said earlier, he was like, "I like the way that Janira she knows there are issues in the world, but she just walks in and like, whatever." And you don't know it. She'll tell you, like, she's sensitive to the tone of your voice and things like that. But she really walks through life like, whatever. Not in a nonchalant. You would never know she feels that way, but you don't see much bother her. She like, okay. The middle one's like, "Oh my gosh." And the oldest one is like, "All right, I need a break from all of this. Let me get this balance." So they still have their own way of coping with it.
Awesome. So before we go, why don't you go ahead and I got the little thing ticker running at the bottom on people how to follow you. Tell everyone about what you do and why you started doing it, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
All right. So my business is Natural Colors. I make all natural skincare, hair products, handmade. Whip it up with my my mixer in the kitchen. I put up some videos sometimes on Facebook. But my middle daughter, she had a lot of sensitivities externally, so I learned to make shampoo. She had broke out and so bad with her eczema, but she had bumps on there, and they wanted to give me steroid cream, and I was like, no, that's not happening. So I sat in the kitchen, researched what essential oils, what do I use, and from there I just been expanding, making different things. And the little one, she is more internally, things bother her allergy wise. But I still tried to give her the same. So I just learned how to make like black soap shampoo, my shea butter conditioner. I tap around with the no fluoride toothpaste. And you've used it on your kids and even on the baby boy. So I'll make eczema cream. A friend of mine, her dad uses um the cream for like like holistic for his knee. And I've
Same.
made your dad some
Mhm.
once. And so
Yeah, you
it
like
just, it varies. And if it's something I need to customize, I'll just try to research it or help where I can.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Well, you see the ticker that's at the bottom of the screen. If you want to follow Latasha, definitely hit her up. She is on Facebook, and she has also dropped her email down below. And so just real quick before we go, if you are interested in getting a consultation, you can hit up my website, jenniferlwatson.com. If you have some information, questions or anything like that, especially on navigating the world of psychic kids, go ahead and look me up, and we'll go ahead and talk about it and see what we can do about it. And you will not leave without solutions. So it has been a pleasure, Latasha. I'm so glad you finally were able to make it on here.
yes.
I'm so happy, my dear. And so next week we will be talking about something. I forgot. I gotta look at my calendar, but you don't want to miss it. We will not be as late as we were today. Hopefully not. I had to get some. We were partying last night, so I ain't gonna lie, I was a struggle today. But yes, we'll be back next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was going to say Central for whatever reason. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, chatting about the next topic to help change your life. This has been a Jennifer L. Watson show with special guest Latasha, and we are out. We will see you all later. Bye-bye.